Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We are live. We are here. It's your boy Andrew L. Case. You're now tuned in to the Middle Initial Podcast. We are live. We are live in the building. Right now, I got myself, Jude, my co-host as usual. Jude, say what's up to the people.
Hey everyone, hope things are going well.
And we got Ron in the building representing the New York Giants. What up, Ron?
What's up, guys?
Jeff should be jumping in soon. He's going to be representing the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's going to be us
He's
three for
more
now.
he's mourning
Huh?
James Harden. He's mourning James Harden in the Sixers right now. Please forgive him. I mean,
I don't
it was a
think
pretty rough
anyone is,
look.
I don't think anyone is mourning James Harden. I really don't. I think people are fine how things went with Harden. But yeah, I mean that's a part of it definitely. That was like out of let's see, the Sixers lose, ugly showing by Harden. The Bucks lose. Giannis did all he could, but I mean Boston was just too much. And then then there's Phoenix.
Oh
Then
man,
there's Phoenix.
that could be a whole episode of its own. That could be a whole episode of its own.
The game was over first quarter, second quarter. The game was over pretty much. It was. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to show for it. You know, I tuned in at one point during the game, and every player on the Suns had single digits, and I was like, "This I've never." I think the high was 9. Like the high was 9. Somebody had 9 points. Like that was it. Like it was terrible. I mean, come on, Jude. What do you think? I mean, we were talking, via chat about different games. So
with this since we're going to NBA for a little bit, I will say the Suns game, it was hilarious just to see like every stat that you could talk about with that game was just hilarious. First, I mean, the Suns came on the floor and they lost. Luka scored 27 points in the first half. The entire Suns team scored 27. I think by the time the game was over, Luka had 33 points and the entire Suns starters had 35. I mean, it's always funny seeing these blowouts, especially in playoff games. Like they're down by 30. What do you even say as a coach? You go in the locker room. What exactly do you say? Let's go out there and get them, guys. And then you go down 40. So, I mean, there's not much to talk about with that. CP3 is cursed again. I mean, that's another playoff curse to his legacy. Let's see. Warriors Grizzlies went pretty much how we expected. Dylan Brooks did his best, but he was
almost didn't though. Almost did.
Almost did. He had the game of his.
No, I mean Brooks was playing the game of his life. So,
yeah, but the Warriors were the Warriors. You have Klay Thompson, you have Steph Curry, Splash Brothers. You know the drill. Celtics Bucks was a really entertaining series, a really good defensive series. I think the interesting thing with Giannis is that I feel as though I like Drew Holiday as a shooter, but I feel as though they need better ones. Like you can't be relying on Brook Lopez and Grayson Allen to be consistently good shooters, or Pat Connaughton coming off the bench. I think they need to go out and find like a more reliable shooter. Like ironically enough, Steph Curry, like the other Steph, would have been a really good piece for them when you think about it. But yeah, they desperately need shooters because without that, Giannis is getting walled off and he's throwing it out to like Grayson Allen who's bricking. So it's like, yeah, what's the point? And then what other series was there? Sixers. I mean, we know what's going on with that. James Harden did his best Ben Simmons impersonation. Doc Rivers was fighting for his life. Please, guys, please go out there and fight for me. Please go out and fight. And then they go out there and they're starting to lose by 20. So it's like, what are we doing? And then I'm trying to think if there was any other series I missed. Did I miss anything? I think we got through everything, all the 4 series. Yeah, we got through it. So I'm excited. Ron, what are your thoughts?
I mean, for me, this is the first time in a while where you kind of going into the playoffs, you kind of didn't have any favorites on each side, which I like. You know, there's a lot of parity in the league now. And so basically what it comes down to is injuries. One injury, look at Middleton. Chris Paul wasn't 100%. Chris Paul is not just the curse of him losing, being up 2-0 in series, is that he's always getting hurt in the playoffs. So the funny thing was that he got hurt at some point at the end of the season, and I thought that would be a blessing in disguise that he'll be able to rest and just prep himself for the playoffs and prepare himself. But he got hurt again. It just came out yesterday that he had a quad injury that he was trying to play through. So as much trash as Patrick Beverly is talking, Chris Paul wasn't 100%. You know what I'm saying? So I initially had the Suns and the Bucks rematch as my prediction at the beginning of the year, that these two teams will make it to the finals again, because they were the few teams that actually kept their core together. They didn't add any major pieces, but they added enough solid depth to their teams where I thought that all they had to do was run it back and improve. And basically, they had young stars, Devin Booker, Giannis, where they can carry. But what I saw yesterday was that Devin Booker, all this Kobe comparisons, ended now. And then now, this dude didn't show up. Luca Sundom. And another thing with Luca is to think about it. They drafted Ayan over Luca.
Oh yeah, that
people talk about the Kings, but anybody from that draft, I mean, Luca's special. Like to me, it's like I always say this about, and we'll talk about this later, where like NFL GMs and whatnot. But to me, it's like that's your job, is to basically pinpoint who are star players, who's going to be a star in this league. And the fact that he played in Europe, he plays like a different competition, but we've seen enough evidence now that European players, you can't look at them to say as we did in the past. This dude Luka is not just the best European player of the last 5-10 years. He's actually one of the best players in the league and probably one of the greatest players of all time. Like, we're gonna get to that point that he's that special. He's really that special. And the only thing that's holding him back is himself. Like his, like right now you look at the Mavericks team. Who's their second best player?
And
Brunson.
Jalen Brunson, maybe.
Who's Jalen Brunson, really? Like, yeah, he's a good, young, nice player. And maybe the Knicks might overpay for him and whatnot. But, like, Luka's that special that he's carrying this team to the Western Conference Finals.
I mean, listen, he got 30 points off the bench from Spencer Dinwiddie, right?
Yeah.
Dinwiddie's a guy who he's like a Vinny the microwave guy. Like, he'll have a game where he's like 12 points, have a game, 15 points. But then have a game like he had against the Suns in game 7. We had 30 points off the bench, 30 points in 25 minutes,
That's crazy.
I think Dallas has talent on their team, but yeah, we all know who the driver is. Luka's the driver. Like, if Luka's not there, but I mean, albeit it was against Utah, they did have a good start without Luka, versus Utah. I mean, Utah's Utah, but still, any other team probably smells blood in the water. They go for the kill, at least try to win the first 2 games of the series. Instead, Utah doesn't, and then Luka comes back, and the rest. And Luka's playing with some great momentum, and you go against a team like Phoenix, who are the defending Western Conference Finals champions, and they are contenders, and they had the best record in the league. Like, I mean, if you're going to go at the head, you better not miss, and they didn't miss. You know what I mean? And that's what it is.
It was just winning the games at home. I mean, that's all it was. For like Luka, they had to steal that game on the road, obviously, but they also had to hold serve at home. If they don't do that, the series is over. I will say, just a humorous thing to think about. Like, imagine just being a Suns fan, you're hyped for Game 7. I think Game 7 was Sunday, right? You go to church, you pray to God, you do all that stuff. You get your tickets that are probably like $1,200, $1,500 a piece. You go to the game, you're excited, Chris Paul's coming, and the next thing you know, you're down like 30 points at halftime, and then you get down 40, and it's like, I can't imagine being a Suns fan at the game and paying that much
at a Game 7 at home, and like that's just awful.
Like, it's not even like they just got blown out. I mean, the super bums were in the game at like the end of, like, in the fourth quarter. It wasn't even like the bench or the backup. It was the super bums. That's what I like to call them. The end of
Ayton played 17 minutes. He played 17 minutes. Like, I understand Chris Paul not having a great game, but Devin Booker not having a great game at either. You know what I mean? Like, Bridges not having a great game. Like, they have guys who can play who just didn't show up. No one showed up. I've never seen an entire team not show up. Well, let me not say that. I watch the Jets. I'm a Jets fan. So I have seen the entire, but I mean, not in the playoffs, not in the Game 7 where the entire team just does not show, at all. Like, nobody drops 30, you know what I mean?
Nobody dropped, forget 30, forget 20. Nobody dropped 15.
15.
People barely dropped 10. Like, getting 10 points was a struggle. Let's not talk. I don't know where you're getting 30 from. Let's get to 15.
I mean, I'm being generous, you know what I mean? But like that's what to deal with. But I mean, on a brighter note, a game 7 that mattered. The New York Rangers. After being down 3-1, after having back-to-back games where they give them 7 goals apiece, like that. Talk about resilience. Talk about turning something around. Like that was a game 7. It goes into overtime, and the Panarin wins it in overtime. Like that was a game 7. There was like hockey had some great game 7s in comparison to the NBA, which is pretty lopsided. So shout out to hockey, shout out to the Rangers, New York Rangers, you know what I mean? Country Miller, all those guys, like, you know, on to the second round. But you guys came here for football. Let's talk football. Ron was definitely one of the guys we had at the our draft party. Shout out to everybody who came out to the Middle Initial Podcast draft party. We were diligently watching the first round. We covered the first round for picks 1 through 10. Both teams had things at stake. The Jets having things at stake, the Giants having things at stake. Actually picking back-to-back for the first time in when was the last time we picked back-to-back?
Was it not when it was Barkley and Darnold?
Was it Barkley Darnold? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Because Darnold
and we traded up.
Barkley went 2, Darnold went 3. Yeah.
Yeah, and we traded up. So this was like a back-to-back where, you know, we didn't trade up or nothing like that. But yeah, since then. And I will say this, Ron was on the broadcast, and this is why we're doing this one live for you guys, because Ron was there and Jude was there. We were discussing the draft and everything, but the stream was so messed up because the Wi-Fi was so trash. So we kind of give you guys, you know, we're
giving the encore.
The encore for, you know, what you guys missed. So, first pick off the board for the Jets, Ahmed Sauce Gardner. You guys saw the video, you see my reaction, seeing Jude's reaction, Kev's reaction, and I think Kev was like, you know, I don't hate it. It's not offensive line, but Jude, what was your initial reaction? Sauce Gardner comes off the board at 4. You were hyped.
Yeah, my initial reaction is just always, as long as it's not defensive tackle, I can rationalize and I can be hyped. But I mean, I'm happy the Jets got a quarterback, and I'm usually not like a big defense first guy. But I mean, look at what the AFC is going on right now. Look at all the teams in the AFC. Obviously look at the AFC West, but look at the coast. They have Matt Ryan. Look at the AFC South. Look at everywhere. It's like there's so much offensive talent everywhere, and the Jets could not just stand pat with who they had defensively in the back end. I mean, they're nice players. They're solid players. They're not going to win you games versus these teams. They're not going to give you a chance versus these teams. So the Jets picking Gardner was the right move right there, and I really like the move. It just makes sense. I love his swagger too, and I usually don't say that about players, but I really like his swagger there as well.
No, that's
the
one
sauce
thing
chain, easy.
The thing about me, I bowed my head and I rest my hands on my brother's shoulders, and I was praying for Kayvon Thibodeau, and the pick was Sauce. And I wasn't mad because it wasn't an offensive lineman. And I'm glad the Jets did the one thing that I'm glad from this whole entire draft. We quieted the noise about Mekhi Becton, who's going to be the starting left tackle, who's going to be starting right tackle. We left no doubt. We took Ahmed Sauce Gardner. Solid pick, great pick, considering, like Jude said, the AFC West. I mean, look, we start off this season 4 games against the AFC North. You know, we were so trapped by the West, about the North. We played Ravens week 1. We played the Browns week 2. We don't know who's playing quarterback for the Browns week 2. Most likely, it won't be Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Kelly.
Sorry, Deshaun Kelly.
Yes.
Deshaun Cosby, like Kev. Shout out to Kev. You know what I mean? But the fact that we solidified our secondary with this pick, you know what I mean? We have a strong secondary. I like the pick. And then my fave to go to us went to the Giants. So, Ron, take it away. Kayvon Thibodeau at 5. What were your initial thoughts?
So I'll go to what I said back in the draft. Like, we had like the easiest kind of job as a Giants GM. You couldn't get this wrong. You had 2 big needs going into the draft, which was, for me, an offensive lineman and a top defensive player. It could have been a cornerback. It could have been an edge rusher. So the way the draft board went, the 2 top corners got taken right before the Giants picking the Jets took Sauce, right? So to me, it was like an easy decision at that point. It's like the 3 top offensive linemen were still available. So you're picking 5 and 7, but there's only Kayvon Thibodeau was right there in front of you. You can't assume he'll be there at 7. So you have to take him there at 5 and then get the best available offensive lineman at 7. It just worked out the best case scenario for them. It's like a fantasy. I said this at that night. It's like a fantasy football draft. It's like if you know the person behind you is gonna go for a certain position, but there's more players of that specific position at the moment where you're picking, then just take the player with your first pick, and then wait to see who's the best available player with your next pick. So that's kind of what happened with the Giants, and so I was happy with the way it turned out. And my friend, who was a Jets fan like you guys, he
Mhm.
wanted Thibodeau at number 4. He
Mhm.
was the whole time he was saying we can't get Hutchinson, then I want Thibodeau. Those are his top 2 picks, edge rushers. He felt like the Jets needed an edge rusher, and he wanted Thibodeau the most. That's what he told me heading into the draft. He's like he just likes him the most, and he wasn't upset with you guys getting Sauce, but he was like, you guys are gonna get a really good player here. And I'll tell you this, like I don't follow the draft beyond the first round. So I
Mhm.
only knew like the top 10, 15 players because my team was picking twice.
Right.
So to me, it was just make sure you get a top offensive lineman. Like you cannot leave the first 7 picks without offensive lineman. It
Mm.
just worked out in the Giants' favor. And then right after them is, I'll tell you this, the last couple of years, my biggest pet peeve with Gettleman, beyond the fact that he just is hard with the salary cap,
You psycho.
was anytime that we had a like
You added too many words there. He was just
Right.
horrible.
He's horrible. Awful person.
my thing with Gettleman was always, all right, you want to draft Saquon, cool. Just trade back a little bit, get some additional picks, take the running back you want. You want Daniel Jones? Okay, fine. But he wasn't as high, the highest rated quarterback at the time, or there wasn't as many quarterback needy teams. You didn't have to draft him at number 6. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like trade back, get more pieces, get more draft picks, and make your selection and get the player that you want. But this year we didn't have to do that. It felt right to stay put, let this new GM, set the foundation for him going forward. We're not going nowhere this year. I'm sorry to tell you, Giants fan, we're gonna win 6, maybe 7 games this year. So to me, it's just get the best
Wow.
defensive players
Six
and
or
get the best
maybe
offensive linemen
7.
that is gonna hold us down the next 5, 10 years. And that's just being honest. Like, so to me, it was like we got safe picks, but it was great picks.
Are we sure about that? 6 to 7 wins? Are we the Giants? 6 to 7 wins? Where's
I
wins
believe
coming
that's.
from?
They got the NFC. They got
Am I
washed.
going a little too high? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, listen, this is a team that's in cap hell,
Vegas
right?
has them at 7.
Which is
Vegas has them at
crazy.
7.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's crazy. They got Washington. I mean, they got Washington. I mean, you know how the Giants usually do versus Washington. But I'm just trying to think, like, what do you know what their schedule is? Like, what teams they played? Like AFC North.
I mean, we can look at the schedule, but I mean, I've seen projections, and the Giants winning 6 or 7, and everybody projecting the Jets to be a bottom 4, bottom 3 team is absolutely ridiculous. Like the Giants are literally trying to rebuild, rework, get out of cap hell. Nothing against the guys they selected in the draft because they were great picks, but there's a lot of work to be done. Where are these 6 or 7 wins coming from the Giants? Is Daniel Jones all of a sudden going to be a competent quarterback? All of a sudden, is Tyrod Taylor going to start the season instead? Like, remember, this is the situation with Daniel Jones where they just said, "Hey, we're not picking up his 5th option." So the Giants are going to be in the market for a quarterback in the draft, maybe next year. 6 or 7 wins may hurt your chances to get a top quarterback.
Absolutely. And I was going to get to that point too, where I felt that they should have taken a chance on Malik Willis at some point in the 2nd, 3rd round. I felt just take a shot, even if he's not the long-term answer. At least you get him in the fold and see what you have. Because I like what Tennessee did there. I mean, Tannehill, good enough, maybe top 15, 20 quarterback in the league, like average, pretty good. But this guy has upside. And so Daniel Jones has already shown you he can't stay healthy. They didn't pick up his option. The best case scenario is that he has a good season, he stays healthy, and you're gonna have to franchise tag him. But I don't see this team overall being good enough to make the playoffs. So we have to be bad enough. Next year is a better quarterback class, from what everyone is telling me and everything I'm reading. that we're not going to end up with a top 5 pick. We're going to end up more in that back end of the top 10. And that's going to be annoying because now what are you going to do again? You're going to overpay now to get into that top 5 to draft a quarterback. So, it's going to be a little weird for me next year because I feel like, again, we need a full year with this new GM and this new head coach. You can't really judge them off the first year because they're going to try to establish a new system. They're going to try to bring in their own players. And there's a lot of these dudes like Galladay and Barkley that they got to prove their worth. And I don't, at the end of the day, are they really going to keep these guys given their injury history? You know what I'm saying? Like
aren't they kind of stuck with a couple of those contracts? I mean, they're not stuck with. I mean, I think Galladay's contract. When your second year receiver wants to leave, he doesn't want to be there, and the Giants are trying to shop him. Like, I still understand how. I mean, this is about the disrespect that the Jets are getting. And let's get into it. Let's get into it because
you were charged up.
I'm charged up. I'm ready. We were talking about bulletin board material, right? And should the Jets feel disrespected? And DJ hit me. He's like, DJ, there's no such thing as bulletin board material. Teams, players don't care about stuff like this, right? But I think if I'm Joe Douglas, if I'm Robert Saleh, if I'm the Jets, and I see the rankings, I see or I hear, hey, those were good picks, but they're not good enough, or it's not enough. There's still so many holes. Everybody's being questioned, not just the players. This is top to bottom. This is Joe Douglas, the GM, Robert Saleh, the second-year coach, your starting quarterback, your draft picks. We had the best draft class, first round draft class, whatever. Everybody's being disrespected from top to bottom. So you're telling me that players are not paying attention to this? That no one cares, that the media is constantly this season, even last season, Jeremy Schaap. The Jets deserve to get Trevor Lawrence. We're rewarding bad teams. I mean, Trevor went to Jacksonville. We saw how that ended, right? But we're still projected. I mean, I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, Jude. I feel like we did a good job.
The Jets did a great job. I will say, with regards to some bulletin board material, I think it just depends. I mean, for the most part, you don't want your players to, and I'm sure Ron will agree, you don't want your players too motivated by bulletin board because it's like, you should be motivated by other things besides, you suck. There's some random guy saying, hey, you suck, you're not good at your job, blah, blah, blah. But I do think, a little competitive edge can't hurt. A lot of players find anything they can get bulletin board. Look at Tom Brady, for example. All those years of New England Patriots, he was like, I have this chip on my shoulder. Oh my God, no one believes in us. As the Patriots are going 12-4, 13-3, they're in the AFC Championship game, and they're like, oh my God, no one believed in us. It's like, who didn't believe in you? Who impactful did not believe in you making it to the AFC Championship game? Who? So it's like stuff like that. So you got to find your own edge, but at the same time, you can't get too caught up. I do think some of the dialogue is because of the fact that the Jets haven't been good these past several years. It's easy. It's easy. It's a low-hanging fruit. The Jets are a super low-hanging fruit. Unlike Jacksonville's a very if fruit's on the ground, Jacksonville's literally on the ground. But the thing is, it's like no one cares about Jacksonville. You, me, Ron, Jeff, Kev, anyone we know, we probably met a combined 20 Jaguars fans, if that, in our entire lifetime. No one cares about Jacksonville. No one roots for Jacksonville. People don't care and root for the Jets. So they're the low-hanging fruit. So, of course, people are going to try to rile us up. So it is what it is. We'll see how it goes during the season. I will say, Joe Douglas can't come on the field, suit up, and play offensive lineman. So I think, for the most part, players just have to play well. And I think they will play well. I don't know, Ron. Do the Giants get similar bulletin board material? I don't really see it much, but do you think they do?
Lately, yes. Because Gettleman was giving them enough, right? Like, running back over quarterback, drafting Daniel Jones too early. Like, he was giving them every the last few years, and not for nothing. And when I was doing a little research for this show, I was like, not for nothing, he had a good draft last year, and it was the first time he traded back a couple of times. He did what I was asking him the first couple of years, but it was just like he got us in such cap hell. We couldn't do anything in free agency. I was just gonna say about you guys, Vegas has you guys as 5.5 over under. And you guys had a great offseason, not just with the draft, but with free agency. You guys spent your money very well. And to me, it all falls on now Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson is as good as what you guys thought when you drafted him last year, you guys should definitely cover that over easily this season, I believe. Not even looking at your schedule. To me, you guys should definitely win more than 6 games. And that's progress at the end of the day. No matter how you look at it, you still, as long as you see that he's maturing and developing as a great quarterback that he has a potential to be, that's what we want to see. You got to be realistic too, right? So it's like, because I'm seeing a few Jets fans believe that it's possible they could get a wild card this year.
Well, I mean, Raymond's in the comments. Raymond commented Jets getting 9 to 10 wins. 9 to 10 wins is a possible wild card. Now, listen, overachieving. Let's look at it like this: the Jets won how many games last season? 4.
They're 4.
Is +6 overachieving? Is what we're saying? We're saying +6 in the win column is overachieving. +5 is overachieving with everything we've done. I don't consider that overachieving. I think 5 wins is underachieving. Like, you mean to tell me you get Conklin, Uzama, Wilson, you get your cornerback, you get your running back, you get Breece Hall, you get Sauce Gardner, you get Whitehead, you get all these guys, you get Collins, you reinvigorate your offensive line, you bring in back Becton, you know what I mean? You leave all the doubt behind, Font's coming back, and you're saying all of that, 1 win. That's what you're telling me. That's what they're saying, Drew. They're saying all of that.
Oh no, that line's that line's way too low. But I think the thing is, in regards to, it's not so much that I don't think the Jets can do something. It's that I think the other teams the Jets are playing, and for a wild card spot, the AFC West alone might get all of their teams in the wild card. That's the thing. It's like there's already one extremely stacked division. You have 3 teams in the AFC North that won't be. I mean, I don't know about the Steelers, but like the Ravens, Bengals, and the Browns, once Deshaun Kelly comes back, they should all be somewhat competitive. You have the Colts, you have the Titans for the AFC South. There's only but so many wild card spots and so many wins to go around. And then, of course, you have the Bills in our division, and then Patriots and Dolphins are never easy games. So that's the thing. It's like Jets don't have many easy games. So I can see why they said 5.5. They assume, Jets are pretty much going to lose to every team that's even at an average level. But for a wild card spot, I really don't see it unless a lot of things break in the Jets' favor. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see it.
Well, on that note, we got Jeff in the building.
Jeff!
The Eagles finally had time to make it. Sit with us.
Hey, man. Fashionably late. My apologies. Had some technical difficulties on my end, but we're here now. How am I sounding?
You sound great, man. You sound excellent, man. So you're just in time though, because we're still in the first round player selections, and we're back to the Jets. Well, actually, let's go to pick 7. I know Ron had mentioned it, but let's talk about pick 7. Evan Neal falling to 7, blessing in disguise, for the Giants, because we thought they was going to go Charles Cross out of Mississippi State, but Evan Neal was like a gift, you know what I mean? Because it goes, Jacksonville shakes everything up and goes Trayvon Walker. The Lions get Hutchinson, to get the Michigan guy. Houston goes cornerback. We go cornerback. Giants get Kayvon. Aquanu goes to the Panthers. Great pick for the Panthers. Giants get Evan Neal. Evan Neal goes to the Giants. This is a team that had drafted Eric Flowers. We know how bad it gets offensive line. This is a team that also employed I forgot the other guy. The guy used to play for the Patriots who played offensive tackle. Like
Nate Soldier. Yeah, that guy.
Nate Soldier. The turnstile. Like it's been bad. It's been bad. It's been that bad. And finally, you got a stud at 7 who helps shore up the offensive line. And I know 2 people will love to hear that. Daniel Jones, because he fumbles a lot, so you have somebody protecting this blind side. And Saquon Barkley, hopefully that reinvigorated line. Maybe he's healthy. He got shades at least of his first year. He's offensive rookie of the year and everything like that. So, Ron, what are your thoughts? You got your guy falls into your lap at 7.
Yeah, so I just read yesterday that the Charles Cross was a lot of smoke screen.
Shut up, Ron.
And you said turn up?
No, I said I was shouting out Ron. Sorry.
Yeah. So it was a smoke screen that the Charles Cross thing was all like just to put it out there, but really they wanted Aquanu or Neal. So again, the draft board fell in our favor. It was basically one of those two would be available at 7. We were able to get Thibodeau, get one of these two studs, improve our offensive lineman. We haven't had a good one in a long time. And like I said, we're thinking more the next 5 to 10 years because this upcoming season is still going to be a work in progress. But now you have Andrew Thomas on the left side, Evan Neal on the right side. You keep building from there. And, again, we keep mentioning Daniel Jones, Saquon, but these are guys that I don't see necessarily being here long term. But yeah, for this upcoming season, they should be happy because we're going to have a better line. They shouldn't get pummeled as much. But I like the pick. I mean, from everything I'm reading, this guy was the top offensive tackle in the draft. And there was even word that the Jets might take one at 4, which obviously a lot of you guys didn't want to happen. You guys were already but it worked in our favor. The way the draft went, it made our job easier. I mean, I say our job, but our GM's job easier. He didn't have to do much. He just had to just pick and just put those players and sending his card in, and it was an easy job. Like we left the draft the first round with exactly what we needed. And that was it.
Yeah. Jude, I know you were happy we didn't go offensive line. I was happy we didn't go offensive line. How happy were you for the Giants that, they went offensive line?
I mean, I wasn't really thinking too much about the Giants during the draft. I was just happy. The Jets didn't draft a defensive tackle. I mean, them drafting Kayvon Thibodeau is good. Them drafting an offensive line is good. It makes sense. It's something that should have been done for a while now. I mean, like you said, they've been getting abused on the offensive line for a while. They've been kind of getting abused on the defensive line too for a little bit, if we're being honest as well. I mean, 2016 was the last really, really good year defensively when they had Snacks and all of them, and now they're all gone, obviously. But I think it was good for the Giants. So I think they cannot complain about the draft. They have relatively good people around them. They have good infrastructure. They have good coaching. So they can't complain too much about the draft. I mean, the games they're going to play are not going to be terribly fun because they're still in the NFC East. And 2, they can never beat the Eagles. And then the Cowboys, you know what they do. So we'll see how it goes. But they had a good process this year.
Shaman says Giants are in for maybe a giant leap. Jeff, what do you think?
Honestly, though, I do think the Giants kind of like just from a division rival's perspective, I think they absolutely knocked out the draft. I personally thought Evan Neal had a case to go number 1. I don't know why he dropped so far from the start of the process to where he was now. I remember early on during the season and throughout the season, he was heralded as the best offensive lineman and a top prospect. And then you get who I thought was the best pass rusher in the draft. So you basically are doubling up at 2 key pivotal positions, especially as far as, building in the trenches. So I think, especially in the first round, when you have 2 top 10 picks and with the history around teams with 2 top 10 picks, I feel like the Giants probably set themselves up in a pretty good position to feel comfortable about who they got, because they got high floor, high ceiling guys that, if anything, they'll be worth a damn in the league.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely well said. Let's move forward to the pick at 10. Interesting pick at 10 because Jets fans were hoping that the Jets were going to make a trade and get a wide receiver. And word is that we did try, but people weren't biting the way we wanted to bite. So our plan was, and I guess always was, to take Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Great pick for us, solid pick. We get a wide receiver. Zach gets another weapon. I'm not too fond of his height for Garrett Wilson. He's 6 foot, but who cares? He's a burner. I feel like our receiving core is like our main receiving core is undersized outside of Corey Davis. But in the league that we're in now, it's really not a lot about contested catches and more so about catching the ball in space and creating space for you. And he's a burner, and that just opens up so much for Elijah Moore, which is great. And no one's getting double teamed. Let's say it like that. No one's getting double teamed because Corey Davis is a slouch. Say what you want about Corey Davis in last season when he played 4 touchdowns. When Zach was throwing touchdowns, he was throwing to Corey Davis. So we can say we got a small sample of things to come. If Corey's healthy, then he's not getting doubled. You can't double Moore, and you can't double a kid like Wilson if he's as good as advertised. So
Yes.
I like what we have. I like the fact that we have Barrios as a fail safe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the three-headed monster, tight end University. You know, we got Jeremy Ruckert, who we drafted later on. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And we have Ozama, and we have Conklin. Shout out to Conklin. Conklin in my DMs. What's up, Conklin? What's going on? Shout out to Conklin. We was rapping a little bit earlier, man. You know, great guy. Shout out to Conklin. But yeah, it was a great pick at 10 for us. But let's give Jeff some shine, man, because there's only one pick in the first round that matters to the Eagles, and they went interior defensive lineman with Jordan Davis. How did you feel? And this is a Jude nightmare right here.
Yeah, goodness. No, I would have left.
So I honestly, for me, it was one of those. I don't hate Howie Roseman like most of the fan base, unfortunately, and I kind of get his philosophy. When it comes to building a team. Every time the Eagles have a down year, whether it's an offensive line or defensive line, you know what he does immediately the following year? He re-ups, gets some youth, adds some production. He picked up Hassan Reddick, just trying to add pieces because we struggled with stopping the run. Fletcher Cox isn't getting any older. We cut him, brought him back for a 1-year deal. And after you don't bring in another D tackle, all signs kind of start pointing in certain directions during the draft. So that's why it basically lined up wide receiver, cornerback, defensive lineman. You see the run on wide receivers start happening. You see Sauce and then Stingley go with no move up. That only left kind of like one viable option. And I absolutely love the pick because it can genuinely transform a front seven if he pans out like the kind of player that I think he can be, just as somebody that is just that height, weight, speed, strength combo. You don't have too many guys that are that big that can move the way that he can. So I think you put him next to Fletch, you put him next to Reddick, you put him next to Hargrave, and it just sounds like a win-win for everybody on the line, and the linebackers included, because he's just going to take up space. So yeah, I absolutely love the pick.
Jeff, you're missing. Jeff, you're missing the elephant in the room, though, and that is AJ Brown. That's the big elephant in the room, though.
But the thing is, I had to give our actual draft pick some shine and some love and appreciation. I'm gonna give it some time before I get into the whole AJ Brown thing, because that was like I was hoping and praying for a home run, and Howie all but delivered everything but the DB that I wanted. But when you can get a potential game-changing interior defensive lineman and then double up, and instead of gambling on a receiver in the first round after you see so many good ones go before you, and knowing our luck where we pass on Justin Jefferson for Jalen Warrior. I mean, luckily it looks like we have a little bit of redemption with Smith, but I mean, why gamble when you see the musical chairs that's being played as far as teams that are, receivers that are just getting moved around? And what better option than getting your current quarterback's best friend? So it's just like a win-win all around. Jalen Hurts is happy. He was banging the table for the move. AJ Brown gets paid. He gets the contract that he wants. We finally get a bona fide stud at receiver to add to who's young. On top of that, to add to a young core. So it's just, it points in the direction of proper team building. So I absolutely loved what we were able to do in the first round, as far as getting a future first, trading up and getting a great interior defensive lineman, and then getting a stud young receiver. I mean, like, what more could you want with 3 picks? I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, listen, shout out to Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk should change his name to Domino Effect, because if it wasn't him, all these second rounders wouldn't be moved. But Raymond has a question for you, Ron. If Daniel Jones plays good now with Evan Neal, the team doesn't end with a good record, do the Giants move on? Great question.
I think in that scenario, you just franchise tag him and give him another year, depending on like what we said earlier. It depends on what draft pick they have next year. So I don't see them being that bad that they're gonna get a top 5 pick. They'll probably be more towards the back end of the top, like around the top 10. And so if that's the scenario, is the top quarterback of next year's draft class going to be available for them to draft next year? Do they have to overpay to move up, kind of thing? So then at minimum, I think you could just franchise tag Daniel Jones, even if he's a placeholder. But again, he hasn't proven that he can stay
No.
healthy. So that's the
Ron,
thing,
no,
right?
no.
I hear
Ron.
you.
You know why, Ron? Because you're going to pay him top dollar, and top dollar for the quarterback market right now is way too expensive.
So what would that be right now? 30? Would that be 35?
Like 30 something million, bro.
Yeah,
You don't want to give no.
A franchise tag on Daniel Jones is stank.
That's crazy. You don't want a
crazy.
franchise
But
tag.
the key word he said, and I don't see this happening, is that if he plays good, you know, it's like the coaching staff is gonna have to decide: is it enough of a leap that Daniel Jones shows, where we saw with Josh Allen from year 2 to 3? Is it that crazy of a leap? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but we're talking about Daniel Jones in year what, 4?
Entering
year 4. No, I mean the difference. He played well as a rookie. Like he had a great rookie campaign. You know what I mean, for a quarterback. The following years, I mean, you can't place all the blame on him. You know, things that look bad, like, you know, running for like 75 yards and turning back and then stumbling and fumbling, whatever, like stuff like that makes Daniel Jones look bad, like constantly still having a fumble problem, like that makes him look bad. So even if he has a Tiki Barber-esque resurrection where he learns how to hold on to the ball and has a all-pro year, that's what it's going to take. Like, you know, but Tiki was good. Like Tiki was good. His problem was fumbling. Daniel Jones, we don't know if he's good, and fumbling is one of the problems of many. You know, so he has to solve the fumbling problem. He has to be accurate again, and his decision making has to make sense. And I mean, he has the good thing he has going for him. He has a great coach to help him fix those things because he helped fix Josh. But before you say anything, Ryan, the reason why I say that, they're not giving him a vote of confidence. You know, they haven't given not one single vote of confidence at all.
I think that has more to do with his injury. You know, like he's always hurt. So how can you guarantee somebody another year of a contract when he's always hurt? But I was going to say that one of my biggest turnoffs with the Giants coaching staff the last few years was anytime Daniel Jones did play, you knew he could run. And they never implemented any kind of, you know, read options. Whereas like bro, like you have Saquon, you have Daniel Jones who can run. Use the read option. Have him run the ball. Design run plays.
I think the problem was he got hurt a decent amount. Though,
yeah, remember. But if he's healthy, that's one of his strengths. So
like I remember the Giants game. I'm so sorry. I remember the Giants game versus the Cowboys. I think that was the game Kadarius Toney went off for like 183, 93 yards, something crazy like that. And then he got hurt on like a running play late. And it's like that's the kind of stuff that gives you pause right there. You know, I like what you're saying though. I would agree that would be a strength. If he holds onto the ball, that's absolutely his strength. But that could be a little bit of a concern. I think every year he's gotten hurt, if I remember correctly. His rookie year,
he's been hurt every year.
So that's the thing.
Which you can't really blame him because the offensive line is so ass. You know what I mean? Like that's a patchwork line. You know. Jeff, if you say something, you mute. You still got to mute.
No, I am muted. I was about to say the structure around Daniel Jones in general has just been bad. Like I don't see how you can watch Jason Garrett flame out in Dallas and then turn around and try to bring him in as an offensive coordinator for a young quarterback and expect success behind a patchwork offensive line with a hurt running back and not too many explosive weapons. I mean, Evan Ingram was pretty explosive, but his hands were inconsistent, but it just never really felt like the offense had a plan. And I mean, you can't blame all of that on Daniel Jones like most young quarterbacks.
No, I mean, you really can't blame it all on him, but you know, it's the same thing with Zach last year. Like people are like, oh, well, Zach wasn't good. And you know, we'll say the offensive line wasn't good, they said the center was good, the interior line, like this whole bunch of stuff. But then we started breaking down that Zach was holding on the ball for too long. You know, that's one of the things, you know, or he wasn't going through his reads, progressing through his reads properly. That's another thing. You know what I mean? Like, so there's things that we could point out and say, well, all right, Zach, you have to start taking some of the blame. You know, this is some things that you have to take, like the numbers are suggesting that you're doing, you know, some of the things that'll make you a bad quarterback. Now with Daniel Jones, it's like, all right, we know you have the wheels, but to Ron's point, they weren't designing anything to utilize his strengths. Like we've seen him pull off the huge run on Monday Night Football, whatever that was, or Thursday night, whatever that was. But it's like, you see that, it's like, you know, why not more of this? This guy could run. You know, this guy really has wheels. He could put up a good 300, 400 yards rushing in the season if necessary be. Why not? And then Jeff hits the nail on the head. Look who was the offensive coordinator. So it's a lot of blame to be shared. So now you're starting over. You got the Bills' former GM and the Bills' former coach. You know, these guys are going to make sure that, I mean, they just let they had no choice but to cut James Bradbury, and they didn't want to. They were trying to trade him, but nobody wanted to take him on. So, but they had to do it because they need cap space, and the Giants are going to be in a good position, a great position cap wise in a couple of seasons, if not next season. So it's like, you know, it's Daniel Jones. This is a make it or break it for him. You know, prove something, but he has to play phenomenal.
I think the Giants thing is just over the years they put off this rebuild for so long because of Eli Manning, and then they got Daniel Jones for the great. But Eli Manning having that, and really, if you're like one of those hater Giants fans who hates Odell Beckham for whatever reason, you can blame Odell Beckham for the Giants rebuild if you really want to get big galaxy brain, because Odell Beckham revived Eli Manning's career in 2014 and 2015 because he was god awful the year before. And so thanks to that, they were like, oh yeah, we can win some more Super Bowls with Eli Magic, Patriots, undefeated, blah, blah, blah. And they failed to do any of that. They sucked for several years. And then they still wanted to appease him. That didn't work. He retired. They stuck with Daniel Jones. He's not that good, but they want to hold on because he's the heir to Eli Manning. So it's like all this could just be traced, big galaxy brain, to Odell Beckham being such a great player, when you really just think about it in the long run. So if you don't like Odell Beckham, Giants fans, blame him. This is why your team
you
is
really just went through the forest, around the hills to
galaxy brain.
Put hits on Odell Beckham.
Big galaxy brain. I'm trying to appease the boomer Giants fans that might be listening to this. We gotta give them some love too, boomers.
We didn't have to. Seamus says, I feel Garrett Wilson is overshadowed by Brees, JJ, and Sauce. I mean, look,
that's a good point.
Wilson isn't he's a solid pick, he's a great pick, but I mean, you think about it, like we got the best running back, the best cornerback, and arguably the second or third best edge guy. I wasn't a big JJ fan. We'll get into that in a bit, but I don't think he's overshadowed by JJ. I think, but Brees and Sauce absolutely, But fans are paying attention. They're paying attention. You know what I mean? It's just you got to let people build up. Raymond says that Garrett Wilson is going to be a top 20 wide receiver this year. That's not saying much. There's 32 teams. You're top 20. You know, that's very vague. It's top 10, maybe top 15, top 5. But we say top 20. It's like, I mean. You could be, that's average, you know what I mean? Top 20, if you could be like 15, 18, like, I mean, I hope.
Let's not get crazy now. It's early. Let's just have him have a good rookie season. Then we can go from there.
Seamus is saying some wild stuff. Seamus says, it's okay. I remember when the Jets drafted Calvin Pryor and Jason Mara over Brandon Cooks.
Oh, that's
fuck you for that, Seamus. Thank you. And
then he said Brandon Cooks for Calvin.
He said to Jeff, it's okay, Jeff regarding Jefferson and Rager. Jets passed Brandon Cooks for Calvin Pryor. So he said it twice. So thank you, Seamus, for opening up old wounds.
All these like complaining about the Jets not drafting Brandon Cooks when they could have drafted like Mahomes or Watson instead of Pryor. The same year.
If Kev was here,
If Kev was here, it'd have been like, no. You don't draft a box safety.
Sorry.
And like, listen.
I'm getting him confused with Jamal Adams, right? I'm getting
Jamal Adams.
Yes.
And people were like after the fact, you know, like years. I mean, I know Kev was one of the people begging on. He wasn't begging on the table for Mahomes, but he did like the idea. But you know, because our GM was an idiot, you know, we got a safety. But that's not here nor there. You know what I mean? I think a lot of teams made mistakes that year. You know what I mean? And you know, that's how I look at it. A lot of teams made mistakes. You know, 9 teams made mistakes. You know, if you're looking at it.
There have been some nasty stretches of like box safeties being taken from like Mark Barron to Jamal Adams to Calvin Pryor. Like, unfortunately, the Jets did 2 of them, but like,
yeah. Well, let's brush on that real quick. The Steelers surprise pick for me in the first round. Steelers taking Kenny Pickett at 20. I think a lot of people were like, like, you know, head scratcher. I mean, we know you wanted a quarterback. You know, Pickett went to Pittsburgh, you know, like, you know, there's a connection, you know, to the city of Pittsburgh. So I guess I don't know when he is projected to start. As far as
I
like
think starts
in
week
the
one.
coming, week one.
I
You think he
think
beats
week
out
one.
who's the quarterback now? They
Mitch
just traded for?
Trubisky.
You think he beats out Mitch?
Yes.
Oh
I
yeah.
think
I mean,
Mitch-
I think so. I like me personally. Like I liked Pickett. I wasn't as low on this quarterback class as most, and as far as the class as a whole, Pickett definitely felt like the safest. And then when you're a wide receiver factory like Pittsburgh is, and you already got a running back and Najee Harris, all you need somebody is to like just keep the engine going better than Ben did.
Mhm.
And a 40-year-old, I think Pickett this year can be better than a 40-year-old Ben, where all you're throwing is quick check downs, screen, quick check
my
down, and then
God.
you get. So
Watching
I feel like you
watching
get
Big
those
Ben
actual
was
pieces
so
like
painful.
Deontay Johnson, who's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't. I think
You got
Mitch
like a
is.
stud.
I think Mitch is like. I don't know. I never hated Mitch. I just feel like Mitch just he played for the Bears. You know what I mean? Played for the Bears.
Oh no, which I think it'll be an actual like competition, but I've always just been like I've had this mindset when it comes to young quarterbacks that you take, especially in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, I mean, yeah, you can gain something from sitting them, but what do you really gain from sitting them? Because you realistically got 3 years to know whether or not you're going to keep him as your quarterback.
This isn't
You
the
already
mid
have
2000s anymore. Yeah.
So the last, so Mahomes sat 1 year.
Judas,
no, I'm just saying. Right? No, I'm just saying this isn't the mid 2000s anymore. Like you don't have these guys are getting these coaches, GMs, all these guys. They're getting fired in 3 years now. You don't win some games in 2-3 years. Your ass is on the hot seat now. You got to start the guy. If he
and you got to think. Listen, this is the first quarterback that they've drafted round one since Big Ben.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying Tomlin and them are like on a hot seat or anything, because I mean they probably have one of the safest.
Yeah. Oh, they're straight
in the league right now. But I mean,
they're straight.
You take a rookie quarterback who you feel like has solid tools. You already have a top 15 wide receiver, in my opinion, in Deontay Johnson. You got Claypool. You got 2 studs and wide receivers in the draft. You already got Najee Harris. So it's just like you add a slightly more mobile quarterback. You get some functionality at the offensive line. You got an offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they definitely have time to figure it out. But as far as job security is concerned, yeah, I mean, I know Mike Tomlin is waking up every day, realizing like, hey, I have a 60-something% winning percentage. You know what I mean? I don't lose games. I figure it out. I mean, he definitely going to have to figure out how to get another ring. You know what I mean? Without Big Ben, but they figure it out. And the Pittsburgh Steelers don't fire people. That's just not the thing that they do. But moving on to the rest of the draft, so another surprise real quick. Packers going defense, taking Quay Walker in the first round, linebacker. I just don't understand like the whole fiasco with Rodgers, everything being crazy, not drafting a first round wide receiver ever. And then Devontae Adams is gone, traded, and then it's like you're at 22, you still don't take wide receiver. And I know Aaron Rodgers is a beast, but you really got to beat it. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Or did Aaron Rodgers just say, you know what? I just wanted the bag. Like it's one of the two. It's like, look, if your vision for the team is to, add more defense, and you want me to throw people like Vontez Scouting and all them people, the wild names and shit, and go 13-3 again or 13-4 and get an MVP and prove that I'm the best even with so wide receivers, then pay me for it. And I think that's what it was. Like, if this is your vision, that's fine. Just pay me for it. I'm going to ball out. Hopefully we get lucky, the ball bounce our way, and maybe we finally go back to the Super Bowl. Other than that, it's like, what, why? You know what I mean? So that was just a weird one. But
yeah. I mean, Aaron Rodgers should be happy. He has the money. I know he made a big stink earlier, a couple of years ago, but he has his money now. He'll be good to go. He'll be straight. He can go with his COVID toe or something.
No, to be fair, no receiver got drafted until the early second round after they made that pick. and they traded up to the early second round. They got Watson. So
Who I like.
it's still
like
kind of
Christian
worked out.
Watson.
If you're saying that they should have
Yes.
drafted a receiver in round one,
Mhm.
they still did take the next best receiver in the early
And
second.
that's what I'm about to say. As far as like
Six
Bang,
receivers got drafted
like-
in the first 15 picks, basically, and
Right.
you know, like who else was there for them to take at that point? You know, so it's not really like I blame them for not taking a receiver at that point. But yeah, it is crazy in hindsight looking at the offseason to see that Rodgers got his extension after all the fuss last offseason, and then they trade Adams. And then it's like they didn't sign nobody. I mean, they're probably interested right now in Julio Jones.
I'm about to say not only traded Adams, but like lost 3 of like their 5 receivers from last year.
Yeah. Who they lost? They lost
St. Brown, Valdez,
Brown.
Scantling, and Adams.
Yeah. So it's like you're starting all over fresh. I mean, whatever, you know, Green Bay, you know, thankfully, like figure it out. You know what I mean? Hopefully when we play against them, you know, we're playing against a bunch of guys who are not, you know, going to make some noise, maybe steal a win. Of honorable mention, Tyler Linderbaum going to the Ravens at 25 because everybody was talking about the Jets should take a center in the top 10, which is fucking nuts. He went 25 like a center is supposed to.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jordan who argued everybody down.
Ravens had a really good like talking about the Ravens a little bit. They seem to have a really, really good draft. They got arguably some of the better prospects in the draft, Lindenbaum and Hamilton. And the thing is, people are like, don't take a center. They say don't take a center high, but like, don't take a safety in the first round. Don't take a center, stuff like that. But when you're a team with enough rope like the Ravens have, you have Lamar Jackson, and you're getting like these 2 really good cornerstone players on both sides of the ball. That's a home run for them, in my opinion. Like they're going to be a tough out, especially week 1.
I think I don't like it, but I understand it because you know you signed Marcus Williams and now you got Kyle Hamilton, so your safety position is set, and then you got a guy who could snap to your quarterback and protect the quarterback in Linderbaum. My issue is you traded AJ Brown, and you know you're going to lean heavily on Mark Andrews. Who else are they going to throw to? And, you know, like Ron said, it was only, 6 receivers drafted within the first, 2 rounds. And the Ravens, you know, didn't go for a receiver. They went defense, offensive line, defense, I believe. And it's like, all right, I know the Ravens' identity is defense. We know the 2000 Ravens were the best defensive team in history. You know, after that, we had a couple of more great defensive Raven teams, you know what I mean? But I don't think you could strike lightning 3 times, you know what I mean? Strike lightning twice is, one thing, but 3 times in 3 separate decades, I don't know. I mean, it's not impossible. It makes sense if you were extending AJ Brown and making sure that he has another weapon offensively. I mean, they don't have a top 10 receiver. They don't have a top 10 running back. You have a top 10 quarterback, and you have a top 10 tight end. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if that's your offense, we'll see. But the defense should be prepared. Yeah, the defense should be prepared for everything else. More importantly, though, interesting enough, Jermaine Johnson goes at 26 to the Jets because the Jets trade up with Tennessee. They trade one of their second-round picks and I think something else. I'm not going to go through all the details, but they trade up and they get Jermaine Johnson. Now, the reason why we're bringing this up is because we've heard so much about Kayvon Thibodeau, and this is to you, Ron, about his character issues, right? Everything's character issues, character, right? And lo and behold, the character issues, Jermaine Johnson. We still don't know exactly what they are. Nothing's really being said. I've heard he has handlers, so to speak, like people are protecting him. That was from Erica. She said no one could get really get near him at the combine. I heard he has a chip on his shoulder that's kind of rub people the wrong way. There's a lot I've heard about him, but none of it has been solidified. He's a bad guy. But this is interesting to me how we heard everything about Kayvon and how Jermaine shot up in the charts, right? Shot up to the point where he was like he could be a top 3 pick. So all of a sudden he's there at 26. So Ron, let's talk about that. I mean, your guys, Kayvon is there 5. You hear all the stuff, the character issues. You didn't hear nothing, right?
No, not a peep. And no, I mean, the only thing they worried about is more about him playing either for the Jets or Giants, right? Big media, big market. and that he has all these, he's already thinking like a businessman. Like, what can I do to expand my brand, kind of thing. And you don't like hearing those things as a rookie. Like I remember hearing about Odell, but like once he showed out first. You know what I'm saying? Like towards the end of his rookie season, you started hearing about that kind of stuff, but not before. And so that's a little concerning at first. But at the end of the day, the way I look at it is you got to trust your coach and GMs, the one that are sitting down with these players. And in general, when you're signing free agents, when you're drafting these rookies, you got to know who you're bringing into your fold. You speak to these people. You gotta judge these people as not just players, but also as humans, right? Like we're joking earlier about Deshaun Kelly. You're talking about like did we know about Deshaun Watson and his kicky quirks back then? Or like
Hey,
how do you know?
That came with the money.
You know
that came with the money.
Deshaun is taking his whole team, his whole offense to the
right.
Bahamas. I want
That's not a four-man quirk.
That was his Christmas gift.
No, but Jeff is right, because with money comes that power of like, yo, I could get away with anything. I could say anything. I could do anything.
He's going international with it.
You drafted me. Me. So now you got to cater to me, kind of thing. But again, you got to trust that these guys are going to be motivated enough to want to pay for that second contract. And mind you, you could get all the endorsements in the world, but they could easily be taken away as well if you don't perform.
Oh, definitely. I will say also the funny thing with the whole Kayvon Thibodeau talk is that his greatest crime was having a podcast. Like that was his greatest crime by far, was just having a podcast. How dare
just having too much personality, which is what I don't get why like people want generic answers from athletes all the time, and then all of a sudden one comes along, and I don't feel like he was overly cocky or confident or anything. He just was being him.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, let him be. It's like he's not saying anything bad. He's not saying anything crazy. He's just expressing himself. It's like, oh no, too much personality for me. He doesn't love football. I mean, clearly, I feel like you have to love football to a degree if you're willing to get. Essentially, you have a high chance of getting like CTE, a debilitating injury, being on disability list, stuff like that to play the sport. Like even for all the money, it's still a pretty big fucking risk. So it's
but at the end of the day, talent shines.
Yeah,
and
he's talented.
Is a talented player. He displayed talent at Oregon. It's not like anything he did on the field, I didn't question any of that. He's not in trouble with the law, so I don't understand why they were just trying to make his interviews a bigger issue than what it really was when he was just not answering the questions like a robot.
Listen, if you suck, the act gets old quick.
Oh yeah, especially in New York. In New York, for sure.
You can tolerate it if you suck. If you're good. If you're good and talented, we're gonna tolerate it. We're gonna accept it. If you suck, we're gonna boo you. We're gonna want you out of town. That's what it comes down to.
Hey, I've seen Jalen Reagor delete his Twitter like at least 4 or 5 times so far in his Philly tenure. I know what like that pressure.
Oh, I mean, Philly fans
can make some.
Philly fans are an expert on giving pressure. I mean, the soft sounds of Philly fans.
Nelson Aguilar got my Twitter account suspended once, so I know it gets hectic. I know it gets hectic.
Actually, Seamus did have a question for you, Jeff. What do you think about the Eagles running? Not Seamus, Raymond. What do you think about the Eagles running back room?
Oh, I love it. I mean, honestly, like the biggest question mark is really just Miles Sanders' health. I mean, Boston Scott has been, he's shown that he can step in and perform at a, number 2, number 3 back pace. He saved his career games for the Giants, and I always love that. But yeah, Miles Sanders just needs to stay healthy. I mean, overall, and I hate when people call Jalen Hurts a running back, but technically Jalen Hurts was our leading rusher last year, so he's a key factor in the run game. So as long as they stay healthy, I don't have any questions about like them being able to maintain a similar production to last season. It's just Miles Sanders has to show that he can be the 12 to 15 carry number 1 back for us, that I think and know that he can, because the talent's there with him. It's just he can't stay healthy.
And that's always the big problem staying on the field.
Jordan Howard last year, at some point he was helping out and he was featured. And I felt like in the second half,
Oh yeah, but it's just like whoever they threw back there.
I'm saying
You got
they
three
changed
running
their
backs that you
offense
put behind
to a
some
more
hogs.
run based. No, like the second half of last season, they changed their offense to a more run based offense. I remember this because again, I'm like a fantasy. I follow these things for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
And so Jordan Howard became a thing for a little bit because
Yeah.
the Eagles are like, yo, we're gonna run the ball. I mean, as they should with a mobile
He had
quarterback.
nobody to throw to. He had no one to throw to.
That's cool.
On top of that,
Yeah.
it's like who we throwing the ball to? Like, you got your quarterback who can move, get your running back, and relying on your defense. And the Eagles getting AJ and then getting Jordan Davis on the interior. They're telling you, look, we're going to rely on our defense, and now we have a receiver that you guys to be worried about. You can't stack the box because we at least have one threat. You know what I mean, at receiver at least. So look for Jalen Hurts to try to make some strides. He definitely needs to make some strides this season. I think, and DJ hates when I say this. I think him and Tua are in the same boat as far as the schools they came from and what they have to do, and the weapons that they've been given. You know what I mean? And the stuff that's been placed around them this season. For both of them, they have to prove. Tua has to prove a lot. You got Tyreek Hill now. You got Jalen Waddle. You have a lot to prove. And those ducks you throwing in those videos ain't it. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately for Tua, people have film and they can see what's really going on. And once the games start, they'll be able to see, Tua's throwing a rocket, and that rocket looks like a fucking toy rocket. Shit was crazy.
Seamus has a comment or thoughts. Also, curious your thoughts on the mentor thing that was going on in Tennessee. What he's referring to is Malik Willis. Malik Willis, I should say. Malik Willis is was drafted by Tennessee, and of course, we know who's the quarterback for Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill. And they asked him about the mentor thing, which I believe is unfair because Brett Favre didn't mentor Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? I don't think Drew Bledsoe was a mentor to Tom Brady. I don't think it's. I mean, some quarterbacks are career backups, like McCown. And his job is to mentor the young guys. You know what I mean? He comes around, he goes everywhere because that's who he is. Fitzpatrick is not a mentor. Fitzpatrick is a curse. If Ryan Fitzpatrick's on your team and he's going to play, he's not a mentor. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a curse. If you look at the depth chart and Fitzpatrick is third, the following week he'll be second. He might be first the same game. So he's not a mentor.
Your quarterback's perfectly healthy, then he gets like leprosy or something.
Right.
Like
something happens. Like Fitzpatrick was I think he was like the third string in St. Louis when he was on the Rams, and all of a sudden he was first string. You know what I mean? Like, how did you do that everywhere you go? So if we're talking about somebody who's a mentor, not him. But I don't think it's your job to be the mentor. I think it sounds good, it looks good, but there's coaches for that. You know what I mean? There's other players for that. Your mentor doesn't have to be a quarterback. You know what I mean? Your mentor could be just a veteran, like, hey, this is a guy I look up to. This is a guy who, showed me the ropes, how to navigate as a professional around the league, the do's and don't on the road. But it's not a fair question to ask. And
I think it's also, I was going to say, I also think it's just situational, to be honest. Like what you said, some guys who are older, like much older, like say high 30s, approaching 40 stuff. Well, that's the same thing. But they're more willing to be a mentor because, I mean, they know they're not going to go out there and then light it up. But a guy like Tannehill, who's still relatively in his prime, he's not going to be a mentor. He thinks he can still play. He's probably insulted that they drafted the quarterback. He's not going to really want to mentor you. He's going to want to play.
But
choose sitting on the bench.
I feel like the biggest issue I had with it is like you guys mentioned, like Brett Favre, Bledsoe, guys that were like great or at least pretty solid. Ryan Tannehill is a top 5 paid quarterback and is nowhere near that, and he's like, he has this bravado about himself, like people were clamoring for you guys to take him round 2. Like, we know you're not it, like for the Titans.
But you know what that is, Jeff, and that's the Jets, and that's the Adam Gase effect. Because when the Jets hired Gase,
I remember that.
Everybody look at all the former Dolphins who are thriving, without Gates being around. You know what I mean? Everybody, this guy's thriving. This guy's thriving because Gates was the cancer. And yeah, Gates is a bad coach. But then you're propping up guys who are like, the average. You're not propping up guys who were like superstars. Like Tannehill was solid. He had some solid years in Miami. But like Jeff said, he wasn't the guy. And you come to a situation in Tennessee where you don't have to throw the ball 30, 40 times because you have Derrick Henry in the fucking in the backfield. He's the offensive MVP. He carries the offense. Even though Kev doesn't want to agree with me with that, we see what happened last year without him. He carries the offense. And now they're starting to realize, hey, all we got to do is stop this dude and force Tannehill to throw, like make him throw it. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to fuck up eventually. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, all right, you know what? We get a quarterback, which you should, because it's not like Tannehill is 28 years old. I get it. He competed. He was in an AFC championship, you know what I mean? A playoff team a couple of years in a row, but it's not all you, bro. It's really not all you. You know what I mean? It's like Derrick Henry was flat out going to be MVP before he got hurt this season. Like no one was stopping him for being MVP.
And then when it comes to quarterbacks, it's just like, that's one of the reasons why I was so hard on Jalen Hurts to end the season. The last thing on my mind is how you ended the season. That last game that you played. That last game I seen Ryan Tannehill play, he started the game with the interception. He ended the game with the interception. That lost his team the game. And you're talking about you puffing your chest out. I mean, you could have like, I just feel like there's better responses for that than taking the this is my team, that's not my job approach. That's just me. Especially when you're not arguably not even a top 10 quarterback.
I like this comment from Seamus. With the 450th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Ryan Tannehill, mentor from Texas A&M. I like that. I didn't miss this comment, but I wanted to post this up right here. This is real funny. Let's talk about this. The analytic dweebs going nuts for the Hall pick.
Oh goodness gracious.
So the Jets were rumored that they were going to trade up to the first round and get Breece Hall, right? And I think the trade was rejected, whatever, and then Breece Hall ended up being there in the second round. And I think we traded up in the second round to get Breece Hall, right? That's what we did. And we traded up with, I believe it was your team, Ron. We traded with the Giants, right?
Was it?
Was it Giants or was it just?
No, I think so. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah,
it was with us.
It was yeah. So
yep.
we get a running back, and it's a great pick. You know what I mean? For me, it's a great pick. You know what I mean? We got 3 good picks: defense, offense, defense. And if we decided to trade up and get a running back in the first round, get offense, right? People are like, oh, that's crazy. You don't trade up into the first round to get a running back, and and I get positional value and stuff like that. But if you're done with the second round, hey, we already traded up and got Johnson. We're done with the second round. We only get in 1 pick, and that's the guy we want. And we're going to trade up into the first to get the guy we want. What's wrong with getting the guy you want? Forget positional value, nothing like that. It's
not even just. It's a first round pick.
Yes,
like you've already made 2, and you get the 5. You get the 5-year. Well, I'm talking about like if they didn't, like, I'm just not even factoring in the. I'm just talking about in general. But yes, even 4 to make it worse. But like. You get the running back you want, you get the guy you want, you get the 5th-year option flexibility on the contract. So it's just like, why not when you've already crushed the first round? You got best corner, best receiver.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, it's like, the crazy thing is, it's just like people think too much about the 5th round pick. They're like, it's like that Family Guy thing. If I remember correctly, the joke was, we could get this boat, or we could get this mystery box. What's in the middle? Why not get the boat? Well, the mystery box, it could be a boat, but the boat's right there. The box could be a boat. And it's like they get the mystery box, and it's not a bolt. So it's like it's the same thing with the 5th round pick.
It's like we could get Tyreek. We could get a Tyreek Hill in the 5th round,
or you could get someone that's more likely. Yeah. Or you could get someone that's more likely better than the fifth round pick. And it's like, I think a lot of the analytics, and I get analytics for the most part, but I think a lot of it way overvalue the potential of these picks more than like what's actually going on when you pick players. I
don't even think it's the picks. I just think a combination of like PFF and like the major analytics movement are trying to kill the running back position.
PFF is so garbage.
And it's like you see, it's like year in and year out. Yes, running backs are easily replaced, and you can find good running backs, but you can never have too many good running backs, especially when you've already covered all your other needs. Because y'all got Carter and Breece Hall. Like, I'm pretty sure you run the ball 20 times between the two of them. The defense is like the front sevens aren't going to want to keep tackling the both of them.
Yes. Like, that's the thing, too. It's like I get the devaluing of running backs for sure. Like you said, that it's relatively easier replaceable, but it's like you still got to have like a baseline level of competence. Like, you can't just start any. Yes, PFF is garbage, but you can't just start like any just random scrub out there. Like, if the guy can see a hole and run through it, then he's probably easily replaceable. But you still need some talent above that to make, like you said, make defenses not want to tackle you. Like Derrick Henry, for example. Do you want to replace Derrick Henry? I wouldn't want to replace Derrick Henry. Why? Because late in games, defenses don't want to tackle him. They get tired of tackling him. They get exhausted. That's what you want from a running back. Nothing else.
I mean,
like, it's more than just like
he had a running back last year. You know, Michael Carter was hurt, right? Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman. You know, I think we had Adams. We were playing like practice squad guys. You know, running back guys, right? So, if again, my philosophy is simply this: you got your 3 picks, right? You traded up and you stole the guy that everybody was drooling over at 26, right? And they said, all right, I'm sitting there in the 2nd round. I know who I want. You know, value schmalue. Let me just trade up and get him in the first. Then we have and we're done. Boom, we're done. Next, move on to the 3rd round, whatever case may be. I mean, the Jets did it in 2000. I mean, albeit it was a part of like the whole John Abraham and coaching trade, how we got those picks. But still, 4 first-round picks. We're done. That's it. Bye. Have a good night. Those are foundational guys. So if you're telling me our first 4 picks are not foundational, like what are the analytics guys really saying at this point when you're saying I got a starting cornerback, I got a starting edge, I got a starting wide receiver, and a starting running back? Those are foundational pieces. Are you telling me we shouldn't have traded up for Jermaine Johnson and stayed in the 2nd round and drafted who? Or what? No, we should have traded back. Should have traded back and get more picks to get who?
Get picks on picks.
Like the offseason that the Jets had, realistically, what did y'all need that y'all really didn't at least attempt to address already?
And the added bonus is that you keep them away from the Bills. The Bills were rumored to wanted to draft Hall the whole time. And they didn't take him in the end of the 1st round, so you're thinking maybe they're going to attempt to trade up in the 2nd round themselves. You can play keep away as well. I mean, I always say this too, and I always hate when fans are counting, you know, the players' money, you know, like as if we're the owners, as if we're trying to save money. Like at the end of the day, bro, like the players are going to get paid. I want great players on my team. So the draft picks, I get it at times where you're rebuilding. But the Jets are in like that 2nd stage of rebuild. They're ready. It's time to move on already. It's time to win.
Trying to help your quarterback. You got him a receiver.
Keep trying to allocate more picks. It's time to win games.
Thank you.
You got Elijah Moore. You got the receiver at 10. Get him a running back. Like that's what he needs. He needs a safety valve out of the backfield, somebody that he can trust, somebody that him and the staff can trust.
And he can catch. So, and you have 2 guys like Carter could catch, Hall could catch. They're both burners. Breece is just more physical, and Carter's more finesse. And this is not a 1 running back league anymore. Like, I don't understand how people are upset. But let's talk about this. I wanted to throw a little potpourri question in here. And this is to Jeff and Ron. There's 1 pick you can take. You can select and say, hey, you know what? We're out of the 1st round. which is a pick, second round or later, that you really like for your team? I'm gonna start with you, Ron.
I like the Wandale Robinson receiver. I know we have, Shepard, Slayton, Galladay, and we spoke about Tony earlier, but that's the thing, right? So heading into the draft, there was all this talk about Tony. He missed one of the offseason workouts that he wants out. There's rumors of that. But to me, it's more about what they're bringing from Buffalo, which is they ran a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. So you can't have too many receivers, and you want to give Daniel Jones as many weapons as possible. So this guy is considered like a slot guy, but I feel like at the end of the day, you can move guys around. And to me, I can't trust Shepard. Shepard's always hurt. Galladay's always hurt. Even Tony, he looked explosive last year. He looked great when he played, but he was also hurt as well. So a lot of people, and even at first, I was a little bit hesitant to like the pick because I was like, I wanted to take a chance on Malik Willis. I said that earlier. But now looking back at our draft, I really like that pick, and I'm really excited to see like how he looks. With again, I want to see him in that Cole Beasley role. I want to see how that works out. Again, I want to see how the offense looks with Brian Dable. Like, how do we fit these guys in? And the other pick I like too, they drafted a tight end. We have no tight end in our room. Evan Ingram went to Jacksonville. Kyle Rudolph got released. So they drafted this dude in the 4th or 5th round, Bellinger, as well. This guy's athletic. He's a little raw, but again, I remember years ago. I don't know if you guys remember this guy the Giants drafted, Adrian Robinson. He was supposed to be the JPP of tight ends. I don't remember that quote they said, but it's a similar thing, right? But again, I'm looking at this draft as long term. So if you're telling me this guy maybe didn't produce in college, but he has all the raw talent to be a great pass catching tight end, put him on my team, and let's see what this coaching staff is made of. Let's see if they can develop some players.
Absolutely, Jeff. Who's your pick? The pick that you like?
Oh,
absolutely
easily. No, N'Kobe Dean. Like without a doubt, N'Kobe Dean. I know there were mock drafts that I would draft like dropping throughout the process, where I done had some of them where we were picking them with one of our 3 first-round picks. So you mean to tell me I got a guy that I was willing to draft in the 1st round and the 3rd round behind his championship D lineman? Oh yeah, give me that like all day. And I like how has typically ignored the linebacker position. So to see us actually draft a talented SEC linebacker is just like, it was like Christmas. You give me Jordan Davis, AJ Brown, and N'Kobe Dean. I don't care about what else we do in the draft. Like I feel like I won already.
No, that's definitely solid. Definitely solid. We're gonna take one more question, and then we're gonna have some final predictions and a couple more commentary. Raymond had a question. He said, "Case Jude, if Zach plays really bad and we end up with a top 3 pick, do we take another quarterback?" Short answer:
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. I do believe someone gets fired if we finish that bad. And I mean, they're saying that Joe Douglas won't get fired. But there's going to be some hot seat stuff if Zach doesn't pan out. He's.
Seats are going to get really hot, but he'll get one more chance with. And I mean, I think it's an interesting thing because if his seats get that hot, I think more likely than not, that's when we get our favorite owner, Woody Johnson, come strolling like Vince McMahon. Or what?
That's what you got.
Yes, he's going to come strong in like WWE, and he's going to be like, "You go get Aaron Rodgers now. I'm not wasting my time with another drafting quarterback. Whatever money he wants, I'll get it. I'll pay him under the table. I'll funnel him drugs. I'll funnel him cocaine. I'll do whatever. Get him on this team now." That's what he's going to do.
I don't know if you speaking very drugs, dude. You know something that we don't know? Any inside information you know about Woody? You know what I mean?
I'm just saying that he's going to do whatever it takes. At that point, he's going to be like, you've had your time, Joe Douglas. Thank you for this service. It's my turn now. And he's just going to be like,
no, but I agree, though. I don't think we draft a quarterback. I do think we try to get a solid veteran. Like, if it just falls off of Zach and it's like, all right, we still have talent, though. We have guys who can play, who flash. Brees had 1,000 yards. Garrett wasn't 800 yards. Like, if there's some numbers there and you could justify it. It's almost like when it just got Brett Favre, when Mangini got all those picks, and hey, still Brett Favre in the mix. You know what I mean? And we saw off the season 8-3. It's not impossible to think that it just could be in the market for a veteran quarterback. Now, who that veteran is, that remains to be seen. You know what I mean? But Zach Wilson really can't fuck this up because this, all right. So I'm giving Joe Douglas a pass for year one with Sam, right? I'm giving him a pass for that because again, I feel he was hired. He was hired by Gase, and I personally felt, conspiracy theory feel, that he didn't do much to keep Gase and Sam around. You know what I mean? He did the bare minimum. You know what I mean? To say, all right, this is what you're going to get, make it work. Then he gets the quarterback he wants, right? But simultaneously, he's shedding all of the max scum except for Quinnen. Like, Quinnen's probably the best pick out of everybody, right? He probably would have kept Jamal if he kept his mouth shut, but he didn't. So, boom, that's done. That chapter's done. Now, this offseason, you get the guys that you want. You know what I mean? You get the defensive player that you want for your coach and the cornerback. You get the edge that you want for your coach because, we've seen him on a call with Jermaine Johnson. I told you he was going to come get you. You got him, right? You got Garrett Wilson, your wide receivers for your weapon for Sam, and, then you get your running back. So I think this is his, signature off-season, signature draft, and they can't fuck up. That's all it is. They cannot fuck up after this. Like, this is what it is. Make it work. No more questions I see from the comments section. I see Seamus says Zach can't goof, otherwise just going to jet him out of here. Funny stuff from Seamus as usual. To be honest, 2-14, 4-13 is not improvement. They have to be in the 7-8 wins for everyone to stay. Absolutely, you have to win 7-8 games. You cannot win 5. You cannot win 6. The Jets have to win 7-8 games, especially with the schedule. You know what I mean? You pull out 7-8 wins in this schedule, you make
everyone's safe. The seats become nice and cold now. Everyone's safe.
Everybody's safe. You win 7-8 games. Prediction time. Now, don't hang me for this. This was just, like Jude would say, helmet watching, looking at the schedule. I personally think the Jets are going to go 10-7. And I could be 1,000% wrong. The reason why I say 10-7, this is if the Jets exceed expectations, right? Exceeding expectations. Vegas has a 5.5. Winning 4.5 more games is exceeding expectations. I'll take my chances, Vegas. I'll take the Jets and the over. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
That's just me. Jude definitely has a different prediction of wins. Jude.
Yeah. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to stay on the conservative side at 6-7 wins. I think in the first half of the season, they'll probably win just 2-3 games. I think in the second half of the season, when the schedule softens considerably, they'll go on a nice little run, and it's going to be an actual convincing run. Like, it's not going to be like the Jets are barely beating these god-awful teams. Like, they're going to be, like, dominated. They should be dominating or, like, comfortably winning against these god-awful teams. So if they do that, then I think there's a lot of significant hope. So even if it's below the 7-8 wins projection, I think you can make an argument for everyone to stay. And it's just like, oh, yeah, the AFC was real tough. And not only that, you get free agents to maybe want to come that time. Like, if it's 6-7 wins, it's like, okay, I can come to this team. I can give them 2 more wins. I can give them 3 more wins to get in the wild card. This is not hard. That's my thoughts.
Jude's, that's, solid. Rod says 7 wins. Seamus says, as of now, 8-9, the MVPs, the friends we made along the way. Seamus is on fire tonight with the commentary. Ron, Vegas has you guys winning 7 games. I personally think the Giants win 5. What are your thoughts?
I was going to go with the under. I was saying for the Jets, I'll go with the over. I'll definitely take 6 or more for the Jets. But I also will say that the record is not always a good indicator of how your team progresses either. So if you guys win only 6 games next year, but you guys are playing competitive football throughout the year, and you watch with your eyes that the Jets are looking strong and developing and having competitive games, and Zach is looking good, then that's a great season. You take it.
I agree.
The Giants, again, I'm sorry, I've been saying this since earlier. If I had to put my money on right now and go to FanDuel, I'm taking the under. I'll put the Giants at 6 wins, 6-11. And that's not even me looking heavily at their schedule. It's just they're going to be the worst team in the division. And just that alone, I think the most wins you end up with is 6.
Mhm.
At that point, if you have a bad record, you're in the bottom of your division, and I think, but that's also just good enough to not end up with a top 5 pick, which is sucks in theory, but the Giants, they can't do much. I mean, in this year, everybody gets a pass for this year. It's a rebuilding year. They gotta strip down the salary cap. Hopefully these draft picks pan out and the coaching staff shows us something. I mean, again, same thing. You could win 6 games and look good, and show that there's some promising signs for the future. So that's what I want to see.
Absolutely, Jeff. Your division rival is going for the under. You've heard from us about the Jets and the Giants. What are your thoughts for wins, Jets and the Giants? And tell me what you think the Eagles are going to do this season.
So I was high on what the Jets did even before the draft. I liked a lot of the moves that they made, and they absolutely killed the draft. It's just all on Zach Wilson, who I think, you provide him a little better structure with the offensive line, another year in the same system. So I would definitely comfortably take the over for the Jets. I honestly can see you guys kind of like in the hunt for that 7th wild card spot for a large chunk of the playoff push, quite honestly. So I'd kind of be there with you on that 10-7. I think that 4 to 6 range kind of seems right for the Giants, just because you got the Daniel Jones mystery. You don't know how quick they're going to be, if they might even pull him to see what they might have, because didn't they bring in another quarterback,
Tyrod Taylor?
Veteran,
so
yeah.
So do we even know if Daniel Jones is going to be the starter to start the season, or if it's going to be actual competition where Tyrod might be able to beat him out and just be the bridge quarterback that he always is, where he'll eventually get hurt and then Daniel Jones comes back in. But I think that 4 to 6 win range is pretty valid for the Giants. But like I said, I do like what y'all did with the trenches and Neal and Thibodeau, probably 2 of my favorite players in the class. Now with the Eagles, I try to sound as unbiased on this as possible. So before I give like my prediction on record wise, I'm just going to give like a little reasoning before that. So Eagles started the season last year. I think the first 6 games led the NFL in pass attempts. And then the second half of the season literally morphed and became the best rushing offense in the NFL. So I just think, just off of the strength of that alone, that just kind of shows what Nick Sirianni is capable of as a head, not only as a head coach, but as an offensive play caller as well, just to completely flip your philosophy like that, or what it was that you were doing, and just, keep it simple. So just off the strength of that, the little improvements that I saw from Jalen Hurts throughout the season, the addition of A.J. Brown and the subtraction of Jalen Reagor, and just another year with the offensive line, and just, the defensive coordinator, adding the defensive pieces that we've added. Hopefully, we're able to shore up the number 2 corner spot before it gets too late. But after winning 9 games last year, I can definitely see that 12 to 13 being a realistic possibility, depending on the development of Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts matches, if his performance matches his walk and his talk, like I might doubt the quarterback, but I don't doubt the person. The person that he comes off as, the way scouts have talked to him. I listened to this podcast where quarterbacks coach Dave Flip was I can't remember not his first name, but DeFilippo. He was talking about quarterbacks that he's coached, and he was just talking about the competitive drive that Jalen Hurts has. So I just believe that that can get you very, very far. And I just believe that you add his best friend to the equation, you get a better receiver, he gets a little more comfortable in the system, he shores up 1 or 2 areas strongly. I just don't see why not. If you're able to run the ball the way we were last year and improve upon that, and you add a smidgen of an improved passing game, I just don't see how people can really compete with that personally.
No, absolutely. It's not a big mountain. Like, when it comes to, win differential and stuff like that, we're talking about like, you won 9, can you win 2 or 3 more? You won 5, can you win, 2 or 3 more?
It's like
But when
those
the
games you lose by one possession, those games that you lose by 3, those games that you lose by 6.
Right.
Can you make 2 cleaner plays to win by 3 and the win by
Right.
6 to be on that other end?
Right. Like the Jets, I think it's the 4-12 season. I think they lost like 5 or 6 games, and this was, I think it's the Geno Smith era. There's like 5 or 6 games by a touchdown or less. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And when you look at the when you look at the talent that was on that roster, it was like, damn, like how does that happen? You know what I mean? And this even last year's roster, Jets team, they lost some close games too. So it's about execution. It's about you know getting the talent and stuff like that, and that's the difference. That's going to be your 2 or 3 wins.
Like Ron was saying, it's like win differential doesn't indicate performance. Like the Lions had the number 1 pick, but I thought they played outstanding football for most of the season. Besides losing all of the games, I mean they're playing competitive. They're in games with division rivals. They're giving the Vikings hell. They're giving the Packers, trouble throughout the game. Like I only think they got blew out by 2-3 scores only 2 or 3 times throughout the season. And I mean, like for a young team, first year head coach, I mean that's really all that you can ask is just to go out there and compete.
Jeff, that's a great point you make about getting blown out and everything. I just think like there was a stretch I want to save the Jets last year. A bit when Mike White was starting and all of that, and a little bit of Joe Flacco too, when they were just getting absolutely erased, like defensively, by just like any above average team. And like, yeah, there are some games in which the game's going to get away from you, but you want this. I mean, it sounds semantic, but you want the score to be like, say, a 10-point loss, 14-point. You don't want it to be like, say, the Patriots game, either of those Patriots game where you're just getting erased. Like you get on the field, you get erased off the field. You don't want games like that. That's a bad sign. Like if you play most of your games very competitively, every team's gonna have a bit of bad loss here.
You want your team to play. You want your team to play and feel like they belong on the field every time they step on the field and play like they're supposed to be here. You can build off of that as long as they come out there and do that every week. I mean, you might stumble upon, every now and then. Because I mean, there's some days that just aren't your day. But as long as the vast majority of the season, you're coming out there and you're playing like, this is my job. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to perform. What more can I ask? As far as like a coach or just just in general. Because I mean, eventually that's going to turn into wins.
Absolutely. I think the key thing for all 3 teams on the panel. The Giants can't do what they think is going to happen, which is play great second half ball and then, we're going to the playoffs. That happened with Eli twice. Yes, he went to the Super Bowl on these crazy runs. That shouldn't be the way. Like, Giants need to start off strong. The Jets have to start off strong. Like, we had what was the year we started off 5-0. Sort of 5-0 at the gate. Like, you couldn't tell me the Jets weren't going to be great. And I think we finished like 10-6, and I was like, how? You know what I mean? At one point we were like 8-3, and I'm like, how? Like, how does this happen? You know what I mean? Being to the playoffs, I think that was the Herm Edwards year. That might be the Doug Bryan year, I believe.
Goodness.
Yeah, hate to bring that up, but you got to start off strong, right? Because it's better to start off 5-0 and maybe get tripped up in the middle, figure out some wins, and we kind of fell ass backwards to the playoffs that year. But I'd rather fall ass backwards 10-6 into a wild card, you know what I mean, than start off 0-3, 2-3, 2-4, and then have to really like go hard. You know what I mean? Like, and for the rest of the season. Like Jude would say, let's play some meaningful games in December. And for all 3 teams, it's all about kicking off the season with some wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what will determine long term.
And I will say the Jets have a tough. I mean, here's another thing I was talking about helmet watching too, because Jets get their schedule. Like you're helmet watching, you're like, oh my God, the Jets play the AFC North. Oh my goodness gracious, what are we going to do? But the thing is that you don't, like DJ always says, you don't know how these teams are going to look because no one's played a snap on the field yet. And B, each game is different. Like upsets happen in the NFL. No team just loses every game they're supposed to lose and win every game they're supposed to win. There are going to be upsets. The Jets have been part of those upsets. It happens in the NFL. So you can't just helmet watch it to be like, okay, maybe if the Ravens come out slow, if the Ravens come out intimidated by the MetLife crowd, that's most likely going to be Ravens fans. Maybe they're like, oh shit, maybe they start slow and you still win.
That
That's
game
how it
is going to be intense. That is a 9/11. That's a game on 9/11 in New York with all the new stuff. That stadium is going to be on tilt. Fans are going to go crazy. I'll say this for Baltimore fans: y'all got some fine ass women. The Baltimore Ravens fans, the chicks be fine as hell. I'll say that much. They be fine as hell. I ain't gonna. I had to say that and stick that in. But the energy is going to be crazy on September 11th in MetLife. I don't know how we got the game with the Giants, but we got the home opener. I said, and I told Conklin, we're going to be there to watch y'all beat the Ravens. I got us winning against the Ravens week 1.
Oh shit!
Let's start it off. I got us winning against the Ravens week 1.
If Sauce Gardner gets a pick 6, oh my goodness, I might.
It's going to be just ropes. This all is going to be crazy. Everybody's going to be jizzing all over the place and be too excited. You know what I mean? It's going to be ridiculous. But I'll say this much, guys. Thank you guys for coming out doing the panel. You know, this is the second time around. The first time around, we had the wrong type of Giants fan. Shout out to you, Pedro. But we got Ron. You know, we got Ron in the building. Shout out to Ron. You know, I mean, the way better Giants fans who actually pay attention to the team.
Sorry, Pedro. You're a great guy, but yeah, you were very unenthusiastic.
You were very unenthusiastic. So shout out to Ron. Follow him on Twitter at RonRon654. Jeff, of course, was Jeff from the last time. He's the same Jeff today. Follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Urameshi, URAMESHI _ You guys can see that right there. Follow my boy. He's not here, not in the building tonight. We well wishes to my man's going through some personal stuff. We love you, Kev. Shout out to Kev. Follow Kevin Lewis at KLEW24. Also tune into All In with Kevin Lewis on Mondays and Fly Fantasy Unmuted on Wednesdays with Sky Drew. Of course, the host with the most, Jude Truth, my right-hand man's. Follow Jude at Jude Truth, and you can follow me on social media at A-Case Online. Now, I just want to say one more special thing before we go. If you like what you see, Jets fans, this is the Joe Namath Guarantee T. I got news for you. We're gonna win that game. I guarantee it. But we dropped the Sauce Money Tee, which was crazy. The Elijah Moore 8-Ball Tee, which is our best seller, over 40 units sold. We have the Zach Wilson Tee, 2. We have the Zach Attack. And we also have Saved by the Zach. So what you guys, if you haven't gotten it yet or seen it yet, go to MiPod.store right now and check out our merch. Of course, like I said, the Namath Tee. You know, we have the Fly High University as seen on former wide receiver Quincy Enunwa. So if you follow Quincy Enunwa on social media and you see that hoodie he's wearing that says 69 on the back, that's us. It's Fly by 69. Fly High University, that's us. So if you want to be a Fly High alumni, go to www.mipod.store. Also, we have a special Giants shirt coming out. I'm dropping dime, baby. I'm dropping dimes in here. We have a very special Giants shirt coming soon because our designer is a Giants fan. So shout out to creative, my man Curtis, creative genius. And let me just add that for the banner for you guys right now for you to follow. My boy, I am a creative genius on Twitter. All right, so make sure you follow my man creative. I am a creative genius on Twitter. IACG, the number 8 on Twitter. He's the designer and the brilliant mind behind all of our merchandise. Guys, this has been a great night. Shout out to you. Shout out to Raymond. Shout out to Seamus, of course. Seamus has always been here. Shout out to Rod and whoever else decided to show up and show love tonight. The Joker. I think that's Jokes on You. Shout out to Jokes on You. He's always a consistent dude as well. So shout out to the fans, man. This is the show for the fans, by the fans, like I've been saying since 2021. Remember, you heard it first. Guys, anything left before we go?
I just, appreciate you guys for having me on again. Like I said, it's what I like doing. You know what I'm saying? Talking sports, and hopefully, you know, more happens. So there's more positive happens for the three teams. So there's more to chat about. I'm not going to wish anything bad on the Giants yet until the game start rolling in.
Listen, this is a love fest. This is a change of pace because we went to the Eagles game last year, and there's some fans who probably wanted to fight. They're very terrible, but we have great guys on this panel, man. Thank you, man. Thank you, Raymond. Love you too, man. We will see you guys soon. Stay inspired by 69. Peace. Let's go, Jets. 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 Jets.
Whoa.